Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Twilight Zone review. Today it is Season 5, Episode 33, The Brain Center at Whipple's, written by Rod Serling and starring Richard Deacon as Wallace V. Whipple. And Brain Center at Whipple's has an interesting concept behind it, and some of the themes are still relevant today. Unfortunately, this is one of those episodes, in my opinion, where everything is done in an over-the-top manner, and the characters do a lot of unrealistic things, in my opinion, just to progress the plot, and it really does hurt the episode. But if you can get past all that, I think there is some value to be had by this episode. So we start with our main character, Whipple, and he's giving a presentation, and it's about this machine that he purchased, and it's basically going to eliminate something like 61,000 human jobs, and he doesn't seem bothered by this at all. So after the presentation, we find out that Whipple was watching it with a man named Hanley, who is the plant manager, and Whipple asks Hanley how he liked it, and Hanley says he doesn't because it's going to put a lot of men out of work. But you can tell Whipple doesn't care about this at all. He's just happy with his machines. So that's a decent setup for the episode. And then things start going wrong from there. So Hanley and Whipple are talking again, and Hanley's not happy. He tells Whipple why. He tries to give him some of the virtues of having human employees, and Whipple doesn't want to hear about it. We learn at this point that Whipple's father ran the plant, and although they were successful, Whipple feels like they could have done even better had his father been willing to implement some of these things that Whipple is doing. And at this point, Whipple also tells Hanley that he wants him to bring in a man named Dickerson because he's basically going to give him and some of the other men 4 months' notice. I'm sure that won't go over too well. So Whipple does bring this Dickerson man in, and he tells him this story about progress, which Dickerson doesn't want to hear, and I don't blame him. And Dickerson's not happy, but Dickerson, the problem here is that he's not really a likable or relatable character either. He's way over the top and overdone. He goes nuts and rant and raves. And then Dickerson has a conversation with Hanley, and he talks about how machines are his opponent. Like I said, way overdone. So Dickerson goes and drinks, and he has this plan where he's going to go back to the plant and attack the machine. What good that'll do, I'm not really sure, but he does go back, and Whipple is there, and he wants Dickerson out of there, and he gives him another lecture on how great the machine is. And of course, all this does is set Dickerson off more, and he goes completely nuts and just starts screaming about all kinds of things. And he actually literally does tack the computer. He starts trying to break it and destroy it, and then Whipple overreacts. Instead of just trying to tackle this guy or get him off the machine, he just pulls out a gun from the guard that's there, and he shoots Dickerson. Yes, this really happens because I guess violence is the way to solve this problem on everybody's end. Like I said, just way overdone. So at this point we get the next scene where Hanley comes in, and he tells Whipple Dickerson will live, and Whipple's not concerned about it at all. I'm not really sure why, because couldn't he have some liability in this? I thought that didn't make a lot of sense either, but Whipple says all he was doing was protecting his property, and again, it's just all about the machines with him. I think we get the point by now. So Hanley also says, I came to give you my notice because I figured I was going to be replaced anyway, and I want nothing more to do with this, basically. And Whipple tells him you will be rewarded for all your years of service, and Hanley just hits him out of nowhere again. Why, I don't know. I thought this was a little much. And he basically tells him off and says he doesn't want anything to do with him or anything from him. So at this point we get another scene where Whipple and a technician get into it, and Whipple gives another story, which is probably one too many at this point, and the technician tells him off. He tells him there's no people left here, there's no voices, no laughter, and he just really doesn't want to work there anymore anyway. So when Whipple discharges him, this man, the tech, is not really upset about that. He seems happy to leave. And then Whipple just starts hearing these voices all of a sudden from all the people he argued with, and all the machines go crazy around him in an interesting but kind of strange scene. So then we get one last scene in the bar, and Hanley is there, and I have to say, he doesn't react towards Whipple much at all. For two people that fought throughout the episode, this was pretty tame. I thought that was a little odd. And we learned that Whipple's now upset. He was basically dismissed, and he says it's not right and man has value. So at this point he has basically learned a lesson. And we also find out in a very, very predictable twist, I have to say, that Whipple himself was replaced by a robot. And then we get the closing narration, and this whole thing is just a little bit too over the top for my liking. If the episode would have been a little more subtle or talked about how man and machine need to coexist, I think it could have been better. There are some thought-provoking moments, but overall, the brain center at Whipple's is what I like to call an interesting failure from my perspective, and I give it a 2 out of 5. This episode, you can watch it if you want. It might be interesting for a one-time watch. So, a 2 out of 5 for the brain center at Whipple's, and as always, thank you very much for watching.